This video here is going to be about the Quarry. This game here I got back in February, March. And this game is basically just like Until Dawn. So if you played Until Dawn, this is basically just like that, a type of game. So it's like some sort of a decision-based interactive style game. So the Quarry, it has horror elements. It has the annoying teenager tropes, right? Character tropes. This video here is going to have spoilers. So spoilers is going to be in the video. Right, so there's going to be cutscenes from later on in the game, early in the game, and yeah. So if you don't want to be spoiled, right, skip the video, right? But again, now this game is basically 2 years old, right? So it's from, well, what was it? Late 2022, mid 2022. So yeah, but if you don't want spoilers, right, skip the video or beware, right? And yeah. Also as well, this is one of the cheapest PS5 games in my area, right? Or on Amazon or the PlayStation Store. No, it's like $10 on the PlayStation Store. And I believe it was free at one point in PlayStation Plus. I don't have PlayStation Plus. I used to have it. But I saw, that on the promotion, it was free on PlayStation Plus. So the Quarry, right? So, I got this at a GameStop for like $14. Great price, by the way. Like games in my area, it costs $100, $110 new, $90 new. So they're quite pricey. But I'm happy, this one, I bought it when it was like a year old, right? So, or like 16 months later, it's a year old. So the Quarry, right? So basically, once I get, once I got the game, I can put the game down for a while. And I decide, okay, I'm going to get into this game. What I like about this game is that, you constantly have to be paying attention to it. Because there'll be these random QTE events embedded like in certain cutscene moments. So for example, like cutscenes, two characters might be talking together, and randomly like this a QTE event shows up, and you gotta be very quick. So you constantly, so for the most part though, you gotta have the controller like in your hands. You can't sit back and just watch the cutscenes. So yeah, so these QTE events, for example, like tripping over like a tree lodge, or holding like your breath like in certain areas so the predator won't catch you, or climbing, so you gotta climb a certain area, and if you miss the button prompt, you will fall down, and yeah. So the QTE moments, they're very engaging, suspenseful, right? Majority of the game is cutscene. It is a cutscene, heavy game, right? Just like Until Dawn or Beyond Two Souls, so it's very much like a cutscene heavy game. Games, a lot of these games will differ in interactables and sequences, obviously cutscenes and story, right? But for the most part, this game though, like, is very much, you constantly, like I said before, you constantly have to be paying attention to those prompts and QTEs. So the game is split up into chapters. So chapters, right? So yeah, so I split up like into chapters, and it's like this. It's kind of like this, legend, like this kind of myth, legend, or hackers, Quarry, or whatever it's called. There's like werewolves, right? These kind of werewolves, kind of, weird humanoid creatures. And then there's like these creepy human characters, like the creepy cop character, the creepy hunters. And yeah, the start of the game takes place 2 months before chapter 1. So it's kind of like a prologue. Sorry, chapter 1 is kind of like a prologue. Then chapter 2 is like the main event in the game. So split up like in the chapters, you basically play as these groups of teenagers on a summer camp, right? And teenagers, they make a lot of dumb decisions, especially like in a lot of horror settings, they make a lot of dumb decisions, stupid decisions, dumb choices. It's like, you gotta roll your eyes, but okay, why is this so silly? And yeah. Now, the Quarry game, like I said before, it's like a, very much a cutscene, decision-based interactable game. What I like about the game is, the decisions too. So the decisions in certain areas, you can choose to be more. For example, you can choose to be more firm with your answers. Like you're talking to somebody in a normal conversation, you can choose to be more firm, or more relaxed, or more cautious, or more, for example, aggressive. And just like with a lot of these decision-based games, same thing here. And yeah, there's certain pathways. So there's a pathway. So you go on a certain pathway, and the pathway, depending on which decisions that you make, it's going to dictate the pathway. Your pathway, so certain choices are more impactful. So those choices will, they will affect the pathway And going back to the story, so the story, there's, for me, there's lots of tedious moments in the story, like, characters making dumb decisions. Why did he say that? Why is this character so mundane and emotionless? And yeah, but it is what it is, right? If you don't, like, if you're not into like teen drama or like teen based shows, right? I kind of outgrew those types of tropes, right? But the tropes are there, those tropes, and the horror tropes as well, and yeah, but the magic like in the game comes in like with the decisions, like the QTEs, and yeah. There's certain plot points. So certain characters, depending like on the choices that you make, certain characters will die. They will die very quickly, like in certain areas. So in certain points of the story, you gotta make the right decisions, right, in order to keep that character alive, and yeah. So your character, I can die like in certain parts, right? So you play as, what was it, eight or nine different characters, right? And it all depends on what type of choices that you make. Will dictate the outcome. So your outcome playing the game is different than my outcome playing the game, depending on your choices. I sometimes make, for me, I can sometimes not sure like how certain decisions will go. So if I choose a certain, for example, like you use like a wrench or like a hammer to break this one lock or whatever, or what's another one do, the radio, there's like this radio tower thing where you gotta choose a certain decision. So sometimes though that's the magic of it. You're not sure which decisions are the best, but you can replay the game, go different pathways, and yeah. Collectibles in the game as well. Collectibles. So there's like these bonus cards. So these cards, right? So basically they represent something, right? For example, the world card. There's what was the chariot card, right? There is it represents a certain mythological character or something, like some sort of adjective. So these cards that they will give you, there's like this mid-chapter cutscene, the inner cutscene, and the cutscene is kind of weird. You see this kind of witch lady, this weird old lady with this, in this weird, kind of reminds me of Mother Miranda from Resident Evil Village. She has this raven, right, and this weird kind of, I don't know, semi-library area. And yeah, so you talk to her, and then you don't really talk to her. She talks to you, and when you collect these cards, they give you insight into the future, so you can kind of foreshadow certain areas. I try to find these cards, and the cards are very easy to find if you go in, if you walk in certain areas. So if you walk in certain areas, then you'll see the cards. You press X. It basically gives you the hint at where the card is, but it literally shows you exactly where the card is. But you just gotta, do a little exploring to find the cards. So yeah, going back to the the mid-chapter cutscenes, you can choose to see the future or choose not to, right? Depending on if you're sensitive on spoilers, I would, stick to like, not seeing the future and just sticking like to, make everything play out, and yeah. So other things too in the game too as well. There is no constantly, so like once you start one profile, you can't load back. Everything that you've done is literally saved, so it constantly saves all your decisions. So if you make the wrong decision, let's say you want to close the game and come back to it, you can't. That decision like is already set. You already made the decision, right? So you got to be careful on every decision. I make multiple profiles, so I know that, okay, if I mess up here, I can go back to this profile. So you can make as many profiles as you want. Or say, 4 to 5 different profiles. And yeah. So the Quarry, there's also these awkward black screens, transition scenes, right? So these black screens in between certain cut scenes, right? So it'll be like this cut to like the other side of the cut scene, and yeah. So it is kind of weird, it is kind of awkward, a little bit out of place. But it's a very small detail, right? There's these black screens. There is slow walking areas. So if you ever played the slow walking areas, for example, Detroit Becomes Human, Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain, those moments from your tedious in games, right? You can kind of speed walk a little bit. There's no run option. You do speed walk. The running is more so implemented like in cutscenes and the QTEs, but you can speed walk. It's not. It's not fast, but you move slow in the game. You move slow in these slow walking moments. I'm not, like I said before, I'm not a fan of slow walking moments. They're boring. They take too long, and sometimes you're in this wide open space. You don't feel like exploring because it's gonna take a while. And yeah, the good thing though, there is for the most part, it's mostly cutscenes, right? Even though this is not a gameplay heavy game, it's not gameplay heavy. But the slow walking moments, they're more so like a time for you to find the bonus cards in the game that will give you bonuses. And yeah, once you find the first two cards in the game, so these weird bonus cards are collectibles, you'll get a trophy. So you'll get one trophy for one, and then the next trophy. I recommend getting these cards because they can be important to the story.